Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today we're going to be talking about Operation Fortune, Ruse De Guerre, Operation Fortune. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros. So, this is a Guy Ritchie movie. Let's talk about him. So, Guy Ritchie, he's made quite a few movies. And these movies including, well, his first one was Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, Swept Away, Revolver, Rock and Rolla. But his big first big movie was Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. back in 2009. And despite that movie opening in the shadow of Avatar, the original Avatar, it still made a lot of money. It made over 200 million domestic, over no, it was like 500 million worldwide. It's great. So obviously you make a sequel, and you did 2011, which it did about as well as the original. It wasn't a huge improvement, or at least wasn't a huge decline. It was just about the same, which, I mean, it's better than falling off. Then he made A Man from Uncle, which didn't do very hot, and King Arthur. Let's ignore that. But his biggest movie is yet to come. Aladdin 2019. Why he was chosen for Aladdin, I have no clue. But that is by far and away his biggest hit, because it made over 300 million domestically, over a billion worldwide. Though I feel like that was less due to him and more because of the source material. Definitely the source material. But hey, it's on his resume, so that's a good thing, at least when it comes to like being bankable. Maybe not in terms of quality, but at least being bankable. But then after that, he started making movies that people were more comfortable with, more familiar with, his fans. With The Gentleman, which did pretty decent. It was like one of the last few hits before COVID fucked everything up and changed the movie world as we know it. And then one of the movies that came out during that, a little after that, was Wrath of Man, which did pretty decent considering the circumstances. It made like 27 million domestic, over 100 million worldwide. That's not bad considering when it came out. So, yeah. I'd definitely say Guy Ritchie, his track record is okay-ish. It's clear he has fans, and I imagine those fans are gonna see, or there's a few of them are gonna see Operation Fortune. I believe more of them will see The Covenant, but a couple of them will see Operation Fortune. So I'd say Guy Ritchie is a pro, although I will talk about his bombs. I will. We'll talk about them later when we get to the cons, but I'd say his name is a pro here. Another pro is Jason Statham, the leading man here. Jason Statham, man, this dude is just. He's been in so many action movies. Like, it's wild how many he's been in. I mean, ever since the fucking. I guess his main. Well, I guess there was the one with Jet Li, but his first solo act was The Transporter back in '02. So he was in the Transporter. Well, he had a supporting role in The Italian Job, but then he up Cellular. Does he? Would that count? I don't think it does. Who was in that movie? I don't know if I count that as a Jason Statham flick. Now, Transporter 2 is absolutely a Jason Statham flick, which did better than the first movie. Pink Panther. He was in the Pink Panther with Steve Martin, who couldn't pronounce hamburger. Huh. Okay. Moving on. He's made plenty of action movies since Crank, War, The Bank Job, Death Race, Transporter 3, Crank 2, The Mechanic, well, Expendables, The Mechanic, Killer Elite, Safe, Expendables 2, Parker, Homefront, Expendables 3, Furious 7, Spy, but that was more of a comedy. Mechanic Resurrection, Fate of the Furious, The Meg, what the Meg? Yeah, the Meg would count. Hobbs and Shaw, Wrath of Man, and now we're here with Operation Fortune. So yeah, Jason Statham. I mean, he's been in some big hits. I mean, Fast and the Furious, like Furious 7, like boy, like that has done wonders for his career. I say that's definitely done a lot of good for him, especially since The Rock is out. Well, Jason Statham, he's still here because he's gonna be in Fast X. So yeah, and yeah, with Furious 7, Fate of the Furious, the Meg especially, the Meg, the Meg should have never made 100 million domestic. There's no shot. It was just Jason Statham versus a shark. That was it. But somehow, some way, that movie became a made over 500 million worldwide. That is just mind melting to me. But yeah, yeah. I mean, the Meg, huge hit. I mean, Jason Statham, he obviously has a fan base. They are willing to watch his stuff. Maybe not in huge numbers, but he does have a loyal following, and I'd say that's a good thing to have. So even if some of his movies didn't do that great, some did okay, and yeah. So yeah, Jason Statham, I would consider his presence to be a pro, definitely, because he's easily the biggest name of this group. Well, I guess besides Hugh Grant, might as well talk about him really fast. Hugh Grant, he's been in some stuff, a lot of stuff. Um, what's the first thing I notice here? Da, da, da. 9 months. I don't really know that. I guess Notting Hill, that did really well. Bridget Jones' Diary, those have done all right. About a Boy, 2 Weeks Notice, Love Actually, it's pretty solid mid-level hits. Nice little hits here. Um, Music and Lyrics, I think did okay. Did you hear about the Morgans? That flopped. Cloud Atlas, a movie that bombed, but it's a movie I love. I have like a real appreciation for. Uh, The Man from Uncle didn't do too great. Florence Foster Jenkins did. Patenting 2 was a disappointment. Well, at least it didn't do as well as the first movie, but it's considered the greatest movie of all time. So who cares? And also The Gentleman. So this is not Hugh Grant's first rodeo when it comes to Guy Ritchie movies. And he's also going to be in the Dungeons and Dragons movie coming out later this month. So, yeah. He's definitely a recognizable face. The rest, Aubrey Plaza, what has she been in? Yeah, what has she been in? Anything that I would know. The Child's Play reboot. Nobody remembers that. More people remember the Chucky sci-fi show on sci-fi than the Child's Play reboot. I have no memory of that. I mean, I didn't even watch it, so like, what else do we have? Funny People. That was her first movie. I mean, I've seen Funny People. I can see why that movie didn't land with audiences because that's not exactly a fun movie to watch. Um, there's Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which bombed, but it found a second life on, you know, home media, which is fantastic because the movie's really fucking good. Um, what else we got? Anything? Dirty Grandpa. That's one of the that did well, but it's considered one of the worst movies of all time. So, uh, Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. That did okay, I guess, but I wouldn't call her a draw at all. Who else do we have? Carrie Ells. I know him from the Saw movies as Dr. Lawrence Gordon. That's his name, right? Dr. Gordon, yeah. From the first movie and Saw 3D. I know him from that. I don't know about anything else though. um Trying to find what else. I was it Princess Bride? It was The Princess Bride. That's considered like an all-time classic right there. There's Bram Stoker's Dracula, Robin Hood Men in Tights. Yeah. But mainly his main claim to fame is the Saw movies. um who else do we have? Josh Hartnett. I think I know him. What do we have here? Halloween H2O, The Faculty. Pearl Harbor. Ooh. What a stinker that movie is. I mean, the actual Pearl Harbor scene, like that whole destruction scene, is really good. The rest of the movie, trash. The romance is just the the love triangle. It tried so hard to be Twilight, not Twilight. Well, it's definitely has Twilight vibes, but Titanic. It tried so desperately to be Titanic, and it just didn't work because it didn't have that movie did not have the talent that Titanic had. Okay. On on this on screen and behind the screen. Okay. The Black Hawk Down, which did really well. There's 40 Days and 40 Nights, and there's a whole lot of bleh after that. I mean, I know there's not lucky number Slevin. Is that how you say Slevin? I know that has a fan as a is a cult has a cult following, but that still didn't do great. 30 Days a Night, I think I remember that being pretty good, but that was like a minor hit. Sin City, really good movie. No, that did well, but he was like a minor player in that movie. And after that, just a lot of nothing. Well, he was in Wrath of Man, so we got another Guy Ritchie, another person familiar with Guy Ritchie. Um, okay. Let's try to see. Is there anyone else? I think there's one more guy. Bugsy Malone. Who is that? He was in The Gentleman. I guess this is just like I don't know, an all stars. This is like just trying like Guy Ritchie trying to find like all the people he's worked with in the past. Like, hey, you want to do another movie? And they're all like, yeah. So I guess that's why they're all here. But yeah, so this the cast, they're not draws, not even Jason Statham, or like strong draws like Jason Statham. He's probably the strongest draw out of all of them, but even then, it's not too great. But I think combined, I think they make a appealing enough package. So I'm gonna label the cast as a minor pro. What else? I mean, competition this weekend. I mean, when it comes to like action movies, I mean, there's Ant-Man 3, but as I mentioned in Creed 3, that movie is falling is tumbling. It is tumbling hard, and it's just I don't think it's going to be a big issue for this movie. Nothing else should really be a big issue for the movie. Even with Creed 3, although Creed 3 that's probably the biggest issue because not only is that easily the biggest movie of the weekend, but the target audience for Creed 3 and Operation Fortune, they overlap a bit. So, yeah. But for the most part, things aren't the worst. So, competition, besides Creed 3, I'd say it's meh. So, I'm going to label that as a pro. And that's it. Okay, cons. Ooh. Let me tell you about the story of this movie because it is so fascinating. So this movie was supposed to come out last year. Okay. It was initially for like January 2022, then got pushed to March. And I assumed it was going to come out in March 2022. Like, it was like the 18th. So, like, 2 weeks after the Batman. I was like, all right, I get to talk about this movie. And then it vanished. It vanished. It was gone. And I didn't know what happened. I was like, where is it? I thought it was on the calendar. It's not there anymore. What's going on? I was very confused. It kind of surprised me. And then I heard nothing about this movie for months. Radio silence. And I didn't know why. But then I found out why. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. You see, in this movie, the villains happen to be of Ukrainian descent. Okay, the bad guys are Ukrainian. And as you know, we're all aware of what's been going on with Ukraine, with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the outrage about it, that whole thing. So, releasing a movie that happens to have Ukrainian villains in it at the time of this invasion will look awful. Absolutely awful. Poor taste. It would be a PR shit show. Okay. So I think it was like SDX Entertainment or whatever, like who was financing this, they're just like, let's not do that. Let's release this when like things are kind of okay. So the movie was like in the ether. It was in purgatory for the longest time until 2 weeks ago, when Lionsgate they got the rights to distribute it. They announced 2 weeks ago that this movie was getting a release date, a theatrical release date, because originally I thought it was supposed to be like a streaming thing in the States, but no, theatrical release date, March 3rd. Which, on one hand, you'd be like, oh yeah, this getting a theatrical release date. That's great. More movies in theaters, that's fantastic. And that is a good thing. But keep in mind, the release date for this movie was announced 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks. Okay? I mean, you can do a lot in 2 weeks. All right? You can beat a game in 2 weeks. You can read a book in 2 weeks. You can make a video in 2 weeks. You can watch a whole show in 2 weeks. You cannot market a movie in 2 weeks. You can't do it. You gotta start that early. Okay? Real early. You got several months to a year in advance. You start with a trailer, and then wait. Do another trailer, then wait. Then do a final trailer, and then just go all in on advertising. That's how you should do it. You do like it takes time. You can't just expect to do this in like 2 weeks and expect results. You're not gonna get results. I mean, yeah, I mean, this movie has gotten advertising, which I was shocked by. I was like, wow, they're doing the bare minimum. This is amazing. But yeah, that the 2 weeks to market a movie, that's a death sentence. So yeah, overall, the whole situation of this movie, the fact that it was delayed by a whole year because of situations beyond its control, because you know, because of the very very last minute date placement or just date announcement, lack of. I mean, there is advertising, but it's like the bare minimum of advertising, all that enormous con. This movie is DOA pretty much because of those things. So yeah, those are all cons. I might as well go over Guy Ritchie again. I mean, Guy Ritchie, he's had some hits, but boy, this dude has had some bombs, man. A guy from God. This is too late for me to be doing this. The Man from Uncle, which came out in 2015, starred Henry Cavill and Armie Hammer before the whole shitstorm around him happened with him being possibly a cannibal rapist. That whole thing. This is long before that. Yeah, this movie flopped. It cost 75 million, only made 100 million, so yeet. Not great, but it's still a far better result than King Arthur, because god damn. This movie was a catastrophe financially. This movie cost $175 million, which is fucking lunacy. Like, why would you spend that much money on King Arthur? The last King Arthur before this was like, what, 2004? That also had a stupidly large price tag, and nobody watched that. So why would you think? I'm getting heated. And the movie only made 139 million worldwide, made 39 million in the States. So this movie was a massive loss for Warner Brothers. They lost a shit ton of money on this thing. And just makes you think, like, why would Disney hire this man who made such a huge bomb to do Aladdin? Like, it made no sense to me. So yeah, King Arthur, having that on your resume is just bad. Bad. And I don't think Operation Fortune is gonna bomb as hard as King Arthur, but it's yeah, it's still not gonna be a hit. But yeah, Guy Ritchie, like, his track record, like, he can have some hits, but he can have some big bombs too, and this is gonna be no exception. And when it comes to the cast, I mean, like, I might as well mention quickly, I mean, Jason Statham, he has his fans, but they only show up sometimes in droves. Sometimes they don't care. So, yeah, just overall, just flops on like pretty much all these actors' resumes, pretty much. Well, I guess some of them because they don't have much on their resumes, but I guess for well specifically Guy Ritchie, hit the bombs on his resume. That's a con, and the not so great star power of the cast, even with Jason Statham, that's a bit of a con too. Um, and well, I guess they're visible, which is good, but their drawing power is not so good. So it's kind of like a more middle ground thing. And just the fact that this weekend is Creed 3, like that is the big movie. That's the only movie people are going to watch this weekend, pretty much. Everything else is going to get ignored, except maybe Demon Slayer. That could do fine. But everything else is going to be ignored. Especially this, because I doubt some people, I bet some people didn't even know it existed. So, yeah, like competition. So yeah, with Creed 3, but especially after this, Scream 6, Shazam 2, John Wick 4, and Dungeons and Dragons opening one after another. Not to mention other movies coming out like 65 and Champions, some other ones. Yeah, this movie has no chance to breathe. It has no chance to have legs. I think it's gonna die a quick death at the box office. So yeah, competition con in the long run, it's going to be a con. I might also mention his Thursday previews because they are weak, man. 220,000. I haven't seen preview numbers that weak in a long time. All right. Um, I don't even remember like what to even compare this to. I mean, I guess I could compare it to Wrath of Man. I mean, it's only fair. That was Guy Ritchie's last movie. Fee. So let's compare it to that. Wrath of Man. How did that do? Are there even numbers for that? Not sure. 500,000. Keep in mind, Wrath of Man opened in a much worse marketplace compared to Operation Fortune. So the fact that this opened with it doubled that. That spells disaster. And Wrath of Man only opened with like $8 million. So, yikes. Big yikes. Big uh-oh moment here. Um, The Snowman. Ooh, I remember this movie. God, this is the poster I was thinking of. It was like this poster with, it was like a meme because the poster was so goofy looking. And then, not to mention, you have like a main character's name is Harry Hole, and it's just the whole movie was a clusterfuck. Like what? How much of the script wasn't filmed? Like 15%, a certain percent of the script wasn't even filmed. Train wreck. The only up was 270,000. This did better than Operation Fortune previews. And it's only open with $3 million. Oh god. This is so bad. Um yeah. Preview numbers are a disaster, so that's a con. And I might as well mention its reviews. They're not great. They're eh. They're a 52% critic score, but audience score is much stronger at 93%. So this is more of an audience favorite. Not like there's going to be an audience who's going to watch this movie in the theater anyway, but I mean, so reception critics are on it. Audiences are this is good. I don't know about its cinema score. I don't think it has a cinema score. I know Creed 3 does, but I don't know about Operation Fortune. Let me check. It does a B plus. That's that's whatever. And Demon Slayer has a B plus too, which also isn't super duper great. But a B plus isn't bad. When you get to B and below, that's when things get bad. But word of mouth is just gonna be mid, just gonna be okay. But it's more middle ground stuff. But yeah, ugh. This movie is a bomb. It's gonna be a bomb. I just know it. So opening weekend, ooh, I'm gonna lowball it hard. I'm gonna say for the realm of 2 million, 2 to 3 million. I think it's where it's gonna land opening weekend, and its total. Ugh. I don't see this having long legs at all. I just don't. I can't imagine it will. So I'm gonna say 7 million total, and then that'll be it. This movie will die a quick death in the theater, all because they announced the date so last minute. They gave no one. It gave it just at this point, why even release it theatrically if this is what you were gonna do? You basically sabotaged the movie. Like, what are you doing? Ugh. So that was Operation Fortune. And that's it for the weekend. Next weekend, three more movies: 65, Champions, and the big one, Scream 6. Scream 6 is obviously going to be the biggest one of the bunch. But all three are going to be interesting to talk about for various reasons. So stay tuned for all of those. But if you want to watch any of the past, and yeah, that's it. So yeah, if you want to watch any of the past prediction videos on the channel, I've done, all the ones I've done this year, all the ones I've done the past several years. You can go right ahead. So there's predictions. There's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come up but didn't. I covered Operation Fortune twice. Twice. The first time was episode 96. Um where I talked about it alongside The Contractor and Bed Rest. Both movies that were all three movies got fucked hard. Like, The Contractor kind of had a theatrical release, but not really, and Bed Rest went the fucking Tubi. So both of those movies were screwed. And Operation Fortune is pretty much no different. It had the best chance, but not by much. Um, yeah. Talked about it alongside those, but that's when the movie got delayed to like March at that point, and that was before it disappeared. But I didn't cover its disappearance because I didn't even know it happened until it did, and I was like, you know what, screw it. I'll just wait till something happens. And something did happen with episode 176, which I made like 2 weeks ago. Exactly pretty much, yeah, 2 weeks ago, where I talked about it finally getting its March 3rd release date. um. So yeah. Uh. So if you want to watch those episodes or any other episodes I've done recently or in the past or whatever, if you want to binge them all from beginning to now, highly encourage you to do that. So go do it. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. February recap will come out next week. Should be very interesting. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I've done on the channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.